Welcome to Spinning Yarns. My name is Paula Mackin and I am your host for today's podcast, which is being currently recorded at Strand Mill, now known as Portview Trade Centre. We're recording at the studios of Spinners Mill, and today I would like to introduce my first and lovely guest, Rebecca Brownlie, author of multiple books sold worldwide. She is also the presenter of a series of TV documentaries on BBC.
Not producer, but doesn't matter.
Oh, well, sure, we'll make you a producer.
I know. I'm a producer now. I'll add that on the email signature.
Add that onto the CV. Rebecca, welcome today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, Paula.
Good. And what I was saying to you in terms of this is, you've never heard of this place before. You didn't realise that East Belfast on the Newton Arch Road, which is where Portview is based, that there was the history of the mills and things and all that there behind it.
Oh, I'm absolutely blown away. You know, Paula, I didn't even know this place existed until you invited me up to it. And taking a walk through, she brought me through the mill earlier, and I just couldn't believe it. You know, it's not a place that I've ever heard of, and I thought I knew of all the mills up here, but no, this one really surprised me, and I'm really excited to be on the podcast tonight.
Was it a hidden gem for you in terms of what you discovered whenever we did the tour earlier?
Yeah, absolutely hidden gem. To see some old artefacts that still remain from the mill also, and to hear the history, especially about Otto, who built the mill, and then the Mackeys, of course, too. You know, I'd never ever heard of them, so I thought I knew everything.
And what did you think about the banana block in terms of Jaffa and things like that there, his story, what did you think of that?
Fascinating. And he grew bananas in Belfast. You know, that itself was just, I had never heard of that before either, and I'm sure none of your listeners have. And to walk into the conservatory and see the banana tree plant still there, and just the vibe in the place, it's so, it's a cultural hub, isn't it? And the atmosphere, you know, it's fantastic.
We held a open fun day for locals within the local community, and 98% of them says, bit like yourself. One, they didn't know it was here. And if they did, they didn't know what happened behind the doors.
Yeah.
And most of them, of the younger generation, didn't know the history. Is telling the history of places like this important to you, obviously in your published work and also in your TV work? Yeah,
well, traditionally I'm a photographer, so I would first off go for the photograph. You know, it's about the aesthetics of the picture, but it's the stories and the lives of who lived within those buildings or the mill or the houses, you know, that bring it back. It's then three-dimensional, but people connect to the stories, you know, it's the human touch, isn't it? So I think that's really important, and I like to bring those lives back into the focal point where people can learn about them. You know, people have either forgotten or the younger ones didn't even know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people walking past here every day, all generations, and didn't know that their grandmother was a Millie.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, people, you know, forget the stories that grandmothers tell them and things like that. And that's something that, I mean, when you go into a house, a cottage, church, any of the buildings, there's always stories. Is that something that really drives you to do what you do? Yeah,
it is. And it's the storytelling. So I also do walks around town. So I've done Belfast before Christmas. I'm doing Jamore and County Down at the minute. But it's the people that even come to those walks, like even Jamore, they're all local Jamore people. And I think, oh my God, like I'm not going to teach them anything they don't already know. And they walk away and go, I didn't know that. And like they say, you know, you've given me an hour around my own town, and I've walked away just like perplexed that I didn't know. So it's that, and it's meeting those people as well, and then hearing stories that they have connections to those stories that I've just told them. And then also they own houses or know of other places that I can go and visit. So I love to chat to people, as you can see, and it's about networking. And I thrive on it.
What is the most... I mean, I love your books, as you know. I'm a massive fan.
Yeah, did you bring them? I have to sign them?
You still have to sign them, actually. You know, I'm getting a wee bit fed up now. And I love the fact that you open wardrobes and the clothes are still there. You know, I was talking to you about my experience of being in Chernobyl, getting into the houses, and the newspaper from the day where everybody fled was still there. Does that fascinate you to want to know exactly who those people were? what their stories were. And does it frustrate you as well sometimes if you don't get the answers because the generation's gone?
Yeah, it does. One house that always comes back, which is in my first book, is Desi's house. So the story of that was I was photographing a farmhouse, and the farmer who owned that said, "There's a wee house up the lane. I'm not sure if you'd like it, but come back in a few weeks because the wee man that lives in it is in a home. He's not well at the minute." So a few weeks later, he called me and he said, "Desi's passed away. Come up. He's willed the house to me. We're going to demolish it and build a new build on it." He said, "I'm not sure if you like it, but come up anyway." So I never turned down an invitation. So I thought, I'll go. So I went up to Cookstown and opened the door, and it was like something out of the folk museum, the folk park. You know, there was Victorian clothing. There was certificates from 1856. There was papers from the Titanic sinking. You know, and so I went through this process of maybe 6 to 8 weeks of helping him clear the house out and photographing and documenting everything.
And what happens to that stuff? I mean, if you yourself, can you perceive something to be, I think it's historical value?
There's no monetary value, but social history value, of course. Yeah. So the farmer actually donated and gifted me anything I wanted to keep. So of course I have sheds stuffed of stuff from Desi's house. And
so you are the hoarder next door, really?
I am, and I plan, eventually to have maybe a space or something where I can put all that back in and bring people around and tell them Desi's stories. Yeah. You know, so it brings him back alive again. Yeah. His memory and his life lives on, essentially.
Yeah. When you were walking through the Strand Mill, what sense did you get in terms of the atmosphere? And
I would pick up on energies quite quickly in buildings, but the Strand Mill, it's light, it's clear, and it's airy. It's got a really good vibe, where some mills don't have. You know, they can be dark and they feel heavy.
Does that go back to what you did before in terms of explain to me the paranormal work that you did before?
Yeah, so I started out initially in a paranormal group called Paranormal Ulster. So I was the team location finder and photographer for them. So we were going into like Carndoo House and hospitals and stuff like that. So you do pick up on the energies. Well, I do myself anyway. But so I started off on that, and then eventually I abandoned the ghost and then just started to focus on the history and of who lived in there. And then I started Abandoned NI on Facebook. But yeah, that's maybe where it's come from, or maybe I've always had that. I don't know.
Is it sort of, how did you actually even get into the paranormal thing? Was it something that interested you, or was it something that, you know, something pulled you into it, drew you into it?
I kind of blame my mum on this because so there was a house in Dromore, County Down called Gilhall Estate. Do you know of it?
I do, yes.
Yes. So you know the army blew it up. It was a big stately home, and it has a famous ghost story attached to it about, do you know the ghost story?
I don't know.
So Lady Beresford, she used to grow up with Lord Tyrone, and her uncle, John McGill, owned Gilhall. So she came to visit him one weekend and stayed at the house. But she had made a pact with Lord Tyrone when she was a child that whoever died first would come back and tell the other that there is an afterlife. So one night when she was staying in Gilhall, she got woken up by Lord Tyrone by her bedside.
Right.
And he was giving her proof that there was afterlife. But what he did was he touched her wrist and burnt a mark around her wrist. And then apparently from that day forward, she wore a black ribbon to disguise that. But not only that, there's a piece of furniture. He burnt his handprints. It's either on a fireplace or a table, as well as proof. So I'm trying to track this down at the minute, and if anyone on the podcast that's listening could help.
Come forward.
Yes, so apparently the piece of furniture went either to Montalto or Rich Hill Castle, so I want to track that down and at least photograph it just to see if there is any substance to the story. So my mum obviously knew that, and whenever she was a teenager, she would have gone up to the house to try and get spooked. Yeah. And yeah, she used to tell us stories about seeing, you know, like candlelight and all in it. And
is your mummy quite spiritual?
She would be, yeah. She would see things.
Yeah.
So our house, our farm home that we live at, was built in the late 1800s. So there's a lot of activity there, and like we would hear doors and stuff closing in the main house, and no one's walked in, and you know, you see things and. But
and if you hear something, do you go towards it, or?
If I was on my own, no.
Because me and Morgan were just talking there, and she says she had the door closed, locked. She says because sometimes, you know, and sometimes it's pigeons,
Yes.
But she says, I'm just in case it's a ghost or anything like that.
Yeah.
She says, so, and I says, funny enough, I says, here's me, Rebecca's coming. I says, she'd go towards that. I says, me and you would be on the Newton Arch Road.
Yeah. Well, if you were here, yeah, I would. But that's a reason too. I wouldn't explore a property on my
your
own because if there was a bird and I heard it, my God, I would crap myself. And, you know, but I've even caught a photo of a nun that looks like a nun in a convent school in Derry. It was called, what was it called? I can't remember. It's demolished now anyway, but it was me and one other person went in to photograph it, and the security guards had let us in, so I know there was no one else on the building.
Yeah.
So I'd been up like the third floor and walked into like a kitchen. So the kitchen was empty. There was only one door in and one door out. This is also in my first book, and
I have read it.
I don't think she has.
No. This is for our listeners.
Yeah. So I walked out of the kitchen.
You have to actually get them. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they are. They're good. But I walked out of the door, and the door has two glass panes, and I walked down the landing. So you see the banister and the stairs to my left. I took one shot and then took a step to the right and took another shot. Mm-hmm. So it was 2 shots, 2 frames. Went home and edited them. And the first was the glass pane was empty. The next one, you can see the profile and you can see the habit and all in the nun. And I was just like, wow. See, if I had been there at that time,
you'd have freaked out.
I would have been out the window, Paula.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I do believe, you know, in paranormal activity.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason.
Yeah, there's something.
There's something. Absolutely. My mum was the same as your mum, you know, would have sort of...
Yeah.
Especially in dreams and things and stuff and things like that there.
What would you say? Would you have that perception? Would you like pick up on things? Like your mum did, or?
Not as much, but I would be maybe a wee bit more superstitious if something happens or if I dream for something that could possibly mean something.
Yes.
I would look into things like that.
Yeah.
My niece, she would be very much.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So, and my sister has had some dreams that have...
Premonitions as such?
Well, she's actually, you know, she's dreamt when she came home. She used to live in Kenya. She came home, she worked for Concern and United Nations and stuff.
Okay, right.
And she came home with her husband, or now husband, and they were talking about going to Cutter's Wharf. Mm-hmm. And her husband said to her, she told me that burnt down. And she goes, why did I tell you that? My dad was like, no. And we used to go every sort of alternative Sunday and things and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love
for the
Cutter's
music.
Wharf.
Yeah. And next thing is my dad goes, we were all going to Cutter's Wharf, and he came up that morning and he went, Cutter's Wharf burnt down last night.
Stop it.
To which I says, you're as well, you have an alibi, but...
Isn't it?
But she's had dreams like that are very specific.
Aye, that's freaky.
That's freaky.
You know, how do you ignore that? Do you know what I mean?
And how did you feel whenever you seen, I mean, as you said, if you were in the building, you'd have run. Mm-hmm. But when you see that there...
For me, that was proof. That was proof because I knew there was no one in that kitchen, and I knew that no one else there. So it's good because it's a personal experience that I can't explain. Mm-hmm. You know, but I've put that photo up even on my social media, and people try to disprove it and all. But you know, but that's their opinion. Yeah. You know, my opinion is that was definitely...
But there's plenty of people out there that have said, I've seen something that is unexplained.
Yeah.
You know, even my friend Richard, he lived down in a rectory.
Oh.
And there was an orchard beside it, and he used to see this young boy, and he was like, it turned out it was some young boy who died years and years and years ago. Yeah,
but that's like a playback, you know.
Yeah.
So there's also a stone tape theory too. So if you're in especially like the mill here, you know, built with stone, if there's been a traumatic event that's happened within that building, within the stone, the energy, because we're all energy, is released at that point, and the stone records it. So when people see ghosts like walking up and down, and it's the same thing they're doing all the time, they say that's the stone tape theory because it's a recording where you could have spirits or ghosts, whatever, that are intelligent and can communicate, which to me, they're coming over from the other dimension, I would perceive.
Would that include sort of touch and things?
Yes, so they're intelligent, they're aware of you as well. But my theory is, going off on tangent here.
No.
It's Never. I think it's dimensional, so I think we all go on to another dimension.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think, imagine, you know, Carndoo House in Larne?
Yeah.
Imagine it. I'm in that house exploring it, abandoned in that other dimension they're in.
Yeah.
Possibly it is as it was when they were living in it in the 1930s, and they're living their routine in their life in the 1930s, but our timelines are bleeding through, and I hear them and they hear me and they think, what was that too? And they think, is my noise a ghost as well? You know, sometimes there's a bleed through. So that's just my theory.
Well, it's your theory, and
yeah,
even more proof than anyone else, to be fair.
I know.
In terms of you're talking about buildings and things like that, you says whenever you went through the whole of the mill, sort of areas that aren't accessible to the public and stuff at the minute. What was your genuine feeling? There was no darkness, or
no, it was just light, airy, fresh, you know, full of life. Whereas I would say Hilden Mill would have the same sort of feeling, but Sion Mills Mill doesn't.
Darker.
But there's so much natural light coming into it as well, you know, because all the mills traditionally built the same way, you know, the big windows and whatever. But there's just a funny feeling in it. You know, I don't know what that attributes to. But
and are you thinking of your third book potentially? And if you were doing that, you would incorporate Strand Mill. So therefore, hearing, you know, what the locals have to say. As I say, I don't know about you, but my granny told me all sorts of stories. I don't know how many were true, but
it depends how interested they were.
Well,
we add those in.
Put it this way, it would have to be on after 12 o'clock.
Oh, right, okay. That'll be an X-rated book.
That would be the X-rated one. But, you know, so there is, you know, that whole thing. Oh, my granny, you know, when trying to see my granny and she talks about the olden days.
Yeah.
You know, and people go,
I know, but that's so important, you know, those stories that you're being told, and
when you're a teenager, you don't appreciate.
You don't,
because you just think, oh God, she's boring the ass of me.
I want to get home here to get home and away on, or whatever. You know, but that's so important, because whenever those people are gone, those stories also die with them, and if we don't record them, what have we got to pass on next?
Absolutely. Know? And in terms of you're going to do an afternoon here in Brownlie Brewery, in terms of what would that entail?
Well, it'll cover all. So I travel the whole of Ireland. Every hole in the hedge I have been in photographing abandoned places. So I'll go through my most memorable ones. I'll talk about the history, who lived there, you know, the ones that have sort of touched me most, and I know people love the stories of them. So I'll talk about those, and I'll also talk about the, you know, the Strand Mill and the photographs that I've taken that people haven't seen those areas before, and maybe compile some history that maybe you don't know either, and might be surprised for you.
Well, I was quite surprised even when we were walking, because Gareth from Portview was taking us through.
Yes.
And I was saying to Aisling, God, I feel like I'm on like a walking tour, because I didn't know that or that or that. Right. And then I've never been up until on the top floor. And those wee rooms we find all,
the big carts and
all
stuff.
the carts and things like that, and the sewing machines and things and stuff. That was just like, wow. Yeah. And you do get a sense of walking in someone's footsteps. Do you ever feel that?
You do. Like, even that's brought me back to like the workhouses. You know, the workhouses were very prevalent here.
That must have been traumatic to sort of.
But the stone steps going into the workhouses were always very worn down. And apparently, Lisna Ski is one I'm talking about. And the the steps were turned and flipped. You know, so that shows you how many.
What was the story behind that? Just how many people crossed the threshold?
So like through the famine era period, they would have used the workhouses too, and even the asylums too, you know, the histories in those. But it shows you how many steps.
What about the laundries? Have you ever?
The laundries, awful. I've documented a lot of laundries, and, you know, each one you go into, the sadness, you can feel it.
You can feel that from the walls, from just the atmosphere.
Awful.
Would you have felt that even if you didn't know what it was previous?
Yes. I think the laundries specifically, the laundries and the asylums carry all that same weight. Because of the history, and that them, you know, they've been mistreated terribly.
What do you think about the Armagh jail being? How do you?
Well, I've been in there several times, and recently too, and I'm doing work with the council.
Oh, very good.
Alongside them to promote them
What
renovate
is
it.
the plan of that?
They don't have one yet, so they had an open consultation day, which I was there, and I have to put a video up about it actually. So they invited people to come to Armagh Jail to, for suggestions. What would you like it to be used as? So people were putting up suggestions on the board, and most of them were like, it should be like Crumlin Road, which it should.
Yeah.
It should be celebrated and
just
people
being
appreciate.
Cheeky, I don't think I would buy a penthouse apartment in.
No, me neither. Me neither.
Any of those places where that you would walk in and you say that you can feel the darkness, you can feel the pain.
Armagh's very haunted.
Yes.
Very haunted. And it's very, very old. Parts of it were built in like the mid 1700s.
Yeah.
So, but what I could see it being as would be, yes, like Crumlin Road Jail, but yes, you wouldn't want to live in it. But how amazing would it be for, like, say, people who are interested in paranormal, if there's a few of the cells, the landings,
you could stay in
and have, like, a basic,
Because they do the ghost tours and stuff and all in the Crum, don't they?
I think Road? They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love Armagh Jail, and see, if they do open it as a tourist thing, I would love to get a job on it. I would love that. I'd be sleeping in it. I live here now.
With a taser. A taser doesn't work now.
No, I don't think a taser would work.
See, in terms of obviously there's a lot of things still can be done. I mean, what's been done by Portview, the trade centre and stuff, is fantastic. As I say, we've got so many businesses here, outlets, food outlets. People don't know it's here, but when you go up the areas that you've seen, what would you like to see happening to them in terms of the historical value of them?
Well, it would be amazing for tours as well, because you do have a lot of artefacts there, and you have a lot of photographs and stuff. So people would love, like, even if you did a few open days, you could bring people up and show them all that. And I guess the local people involved as well, and they feel part of it, and then they in turn will tell other people, and so it'll snowball a wee bit for you. But when I was up there and I said to you, I could see this as a wedding floor, that top one. And then you have the roof. You give me access up until the roof, and like,
definitely not going back up there again, unless you get me a lift.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't like heights either. But the views are worth it.
The views are stunning, aren't they?
There's nowhere else in Belfast that has those views. And
it takes right across to obviously Portview, obviously, is an indication of the view. You've got the cranes. You're looking right out across. You're basically looking right across whatever viewpoint you're at. It's right across Belfast.
Yeah, it is.
And it's unusual to have it.
It is. And even when I was on top of the roof, I looked down and I could see a ghost sign there as a part of the funeral directors or something.
It is, yeah.
So I'll have to photograph that actually. So yeah, I loved it.
Good. And your vibe from the place was?
Upbeat.
Yeah.
Fresh. Open.
Nothing that...
No. Would you want to ghost hunt on it?
You can do that.
No. Well, you don't know. You might have. Has there been any reports of stuff?
I don't know. That's another thing that we're hoping that our listeners, Rebecca, will come forward and say, oh, there was this or there was that. Or,
so Otto...
there's I'm sure there's been tragedies. I mean, it was a working mill.
But even Otto, who built it, I'm sure he has a strong connection here.
Yeah.
I know he moved away from Belfast, but you just don't know. And there's ghost hunting groups that love stuff like this too, so you could hire out for them as well and do things like that.
So you think it's...
there's so much potential.
There's still future in the mill.
100%. There's so much potential. Like, all these buildings have potential. It takes someone like you in Portview to be forward thinking and to have, to have the motivation to do something with it, where a lot of developers buy these places and hope that they either collapse or go on fire and then something gets built on top of it. So,
which is basically what happened to Crumlin Road.
The courthouse.
The courthouse, sorry, yeah.
Unreal. And I've been in there too.
I was reading an article, just getting up to date. And that was just a complete tragedy because it was a stunning building, but you worked on the article on it, or you were interviewed.
Was the Belfast Telegraph, was it?
No, I think it was Sunday World.
Oh, yeah, okay.
With Richard.
Yes.
Yeah, and so buildings like this really do have to be preserved. I mean, watching you in action, taking your pictures, you just go into your zone.
Yeah.
You literally go into your zone.
Yeah, I do.
One of the things I noticed that you were really sort of interested in was to still have the tracks.
Yes, I love that. And I've got some really good shots of that, really
Have
good
you?
angles. Yeah, it shows you the tracks of the carts that would have been
Yeah.
through. Now, I think this is the only mill that I've seen that in.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that in any other mill unless it's kind of been hidden. So yeah, I love that.
And even the cobblestones of the streets where the two houses
Uh-huh.
are, they still have the tracks where the old railway would have been.
Yeah.
You know, to bring in what that was needed, and also the
Bring
Wen
out.
Bridge.
Yes, yeah. That's all history that should be documented, and I can't wait till you see the photos and maybe you'll share them. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, have you ever been in an abandoned property or house or building?
The only time I've ever done that, as what I referred to earlier on, was when I was working in Chernobyl.
Oh, yes.
And we got access to the exclusion zone, which
Right.
was only by the permission of the local mafia. But hey, you're in Russia.
How did you get that, Swan? Flip me.
We were working for a charity, and obviously to work for the charity, you have to have permission of who's in charge, you
Right,
know, and
okay.
in Russia, it's the
mafia.
mafia. So we got into the exclusion zone. I was warned before I walked in because we didn't have any protection. I was wearing army fatigues. That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
So you'd know
No, like no
Radiation meters or anything?
Well, we had the Geiger counters, but
had
they
those?
just went off the radar. Like,
Did
they
they?
went off the scale. So before I walked in, this woman says to me, "Just remember, I've had my children. You haven't."
what age were you?
Oh gosh, I was only 20.
Oh, so the radiation didn't do any harm then?
Well, I don't know about that.
Get the video on here to show you.
But so that was the first time whenever I walked into an abandoned house, and it literally was abandoned, as in soon as it's a bit like people, you know, during the Blitz, you know, the sirens and things go, and
Yeah.
and
They
they're
have
out.
to evacuate.
But they were all told it was word of mouth. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Uh-huh.
And I walked in, and literally the table was set. Obviously the food was obviously well gone, but the knives and forks were sitting there. That day's newspaper was sitting there. The coats were hanging on the, you know, the back of the door.
Yeah.
The bed was unmade.
Stop.
There was children's toys.
Yeah.
And just walking into it was just.
You're painting a real photograph there for me. I can see it all.
You would love it.
Yeah, I know I will, but I think I'm too late now. But what did you pick up on anything then? Did you feel, or was it just sadness, or like?
First was excitement.
Yeah, because you were in there.
Because I was in there, and obviously I'm a journalist, and that's my gig.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
walking about it, I felt sad.
Yeah.
Because I knew more than likely that the people who fled this house were no longer alive.
Yeah, there's
or the generations that came after them would have been like the children I visited in the orphanages with severe deformities and things like that. There, they knew. So I seen the byproducts of it.
Yeah.
But walking into the house, and it was literally, it's like, do you know when you know something's wrong?
Yeah.
You know.
It's unsettling.
Yeah, but albeit like I obviously knew what was wrong, but
Why?
I just think looking at it, the eyes of walking in, if you were like a family member, you know, coming in and thinking, right, there's something wrong here. Where is everybody?
Yeah.
It was, they didn't even pack a bag.
Yeah, because I suppose you don't have time. It's
Just
just
they don't have time. So literally, you know, the kettle was on the side, the plates, the kids' toys, the bed.
Yeah.
Everything was just
Suspended.
The drawers were still full. You know, the dressing table, you know, the hairbrushes, the toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Do you know, that really got to me in terms of that pure fear that you don't, you know, what people say of your house goes in fire, grab whatever you're,
Yeah.
you know, they never even had a chance to grab a toothbrush. And that really struck me, you
Yes.
know, and I found that really fascinating, which is why I find your books fascinating, because whenever we first started talking, it was that, why didn't they pack up? Or even if they died, surely do they not have
Family.
So does that not annoy you that, or
Well,
what
it does.
happens?
Well, you see,
Where did they go?
most places now have an advantage. People, you know, like yourself, invite me to come and document somewhere they own. But some places, you know, I stumble across. I don't break in, obviously, but if the door's open, I will go in.
How do
and
you
photograph.
gauge whether or not it's safe enough? Because I know for a fact that you are very safety conscious, because we went into the second house, which is on the site of Portview and the old mill. You opened the door and just says, I'm knocking in there. absolutely not.
Yeah.
For what reasons? I mean, you straight away you knew that you would have been in danger.
Yeah. Well, that house in particular has a lot of pigeons, and like there's no air, there's no oxygen, and there's piles of pigeon poo. So you breathe that in, that's pigeon lung, that's worse than asbestos.
Which I never knew about until
See,
every day is a school day.
That's it.
But as I say, I was like, I went home and I said, did you ever hear pigeon lung?
Yeah, did you look it up? Did you Google it?
No.
Just to verify.
Because I did mention it and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these properties, if there's the roof, if there's water ingress, and if the second floor, you can see the ceiling, I'll not even go up the stairs because it's not worth it for the shot.
No.
I'll not take a risk for a photograph. So
it literally when you go in, it's like baby steps, like 1 foot to check you're not going to end up.
Well, on the ground floor, yeah. Generally, any stately or like mansion is going to have a basement, but they're going to have stone floors,
Yeah.
So the ground floor will always be okay. But it's just, you err with caution, you be sensible.
Yeah. Have you ever hurt yourself in any?
I've just had cuts, minor stuff,
Yeah.
nothing serious.
And
serious.
You never go in on your own?
Never go in on my own.
No.
For safety, like...
Well, someone needs to know you're there for
exactly.
a start.
Or if something did happen and I was on my own and couldn't get my phone, or if there was someone living there, like a homeless person, or like...
Yeah.
Or if I heard a bird and thought it was a ghost and I shit myself, it's all those things.
When you think about one of your most sticks in your heart that's upset you, or is there a tragic story that you've gleaned out of all your work?
I'm trying to think, Paul. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in hundreds of places. Well, that one I spoke about earlier, Desi's in Cookstown, is one in particular. But another wee story that came off the back of his was, so Desi lived in this house in Cookstown. He grew up with his 3 brothers and his mum and dad. He was the last brother to survive there. But as we were clearing the house out, I found a box in the corner, a military box, and it said E.R. McQueen stamped on the box. And there was a photograph of an RIC man, before the RUC, and no one knew who he was. So we couldn't put together. So in the box there was certificates for this Edwin McQueen. There was his military shoes, badges, but the McQueen name wasn't in the family. So I did an exhibition in Cookstown off the back of that with Desi's photos and spoke to locals about his story, and everyone loved it, but there was a man in the crowd and he said, I know a McQueen, they live round the corner, they might be a connection. So I thought, brilliant. So I went round and knocked on their door and I said, are you related to an Edwin McQueen? And he goes, yeah. And I told him the story and I says, I want to know how he's connected to that family. I don't want to give the surname. And he said to me, Edwin was married. So Desi's mother had been married previously to this Edwin. Oh. And they'd only been married for 4 months and he died. Right. And she saved that box as memory to him. And no one else knew about him until then. So she got married again, obviously, and had the 3 boys. And I gave that box back to the relative, so that then they had that as memory. So again, then I've brought Edwin's story back.
Yeah, back to life.
And him, so
bringing things back to life. Do you do cemeteries, graveyards?
I'm not really interested in cemeteries. Yes, I would like to do Friars Bush because it's the oldest in Belfast.
It's hard to get into.
I know. Well, they do tours and stuff. So
I know, very rarely though, because it's Tom Hartley who does the tours.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Tom.
Do you?
Yeah.
So can you arrange that?
I will speak to him.
You get that sorted for me.
Because especially during COVID, I used to walk past it, but I was always fascinated by that as a child, and I think I was more fascinated because you weren't allowed really in. There was always a big padlock.
Yeah. Well, that's the allure, isn't it?
So that's the allure.
Why'd you not get over the wall?
Me?
Yeah. You would. But cemeteries, no, I try to stay away from them. They don't really draw me in, but that one would. That would be great. I'd like that.
Yeah, because his books are very interesting as well. He's done all the history and stuff of the Milltown and
he's very well known.
Cemetery and stuff and things like that there. But that's one, and I walk past it quite a lot because sometimes I would walk down to Musgrave Park and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm still... But apparently it's quite dangerous because even when you're walking past, if you're looking in, you see quite a lot of the headstones are all, supported up by things and stuff like that there. So, but there's, I think there is a military grave and stuff in there.
Is there?
The very back, yeah.
Could be. But Belfast, there's so much history. Like I've done walking tours around North Street and Donegal Street there, and we've the assembly rooms, with the Bank of Ireland building, with the North Street Arcade. Like I want to get in there.
Oh God, don't.
I've done drone photographs. It looks class because it looks like a jungle in it.
It is.
Yeah, I'd love it. Imagine the photos of that.
Imagine the rats.
I wouldn't mind. It's the spiders I don't like. It's not the rats. Don't like spiders.
No, I don't like spiders myself, but I just definitely
take a
wouldn't
rat
get in there.
Or a mouse. But
No.
yeah, so Belfast has so much history. Like,
And that's, I mean, even what you said at the start, sort of like there's hidden gems. You didn't know about this here. When I was speaking to you, you were like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'd never heard of it. And I thought I knew all the mills. But no.
I just kept it as a surprise for you.
I know, it was a surprise. It was a good one.
So Rebecca, further to our fun and lengthy conversation, you have some interesting news for our listeners.
Yeah, so I think we've just decided on a date that we're going to do a talk here.
Yeah.
And we're going to have it on the
2nd of August in the brewery, which is also in the complex of Portview Trade Centre. So it's very exciting. You're going to display your fascinating work, and as I said previously, I am an avid reader. I still want the book signed. Aisling, any chance?
Yeah, of course.
So in terms, what have you got planned? What have you got planned?
What I'll do, Paula, is I'll have a presentation talk, probably last between an hour and a half. I'll be showing pictures of memorable places where I've been, where I started, talk about the history, who lived there, who worked there, and of course then I'll lean into our linen history. I'll talk about other mills, and then of course I'll incorporate the Strand spinning mill, which will be the feature of the topic.
I know you're being a wee bit of a secret squirrel in terms of your third book, but could we possibly the Strand Mill feature?
Absolutely, because there's plenty of content in it. But yeah, of course.
So you're looking forward to meeting. Again, also people from the local area, please come, tell your stories. Yeah. How do they get in contact with you if they have something of interest that could be for your book?
Yeah, that'd be great. Even for the talk, if there's anyone that has family members that have worked in the mill, or even any mill across Belfast or the wider province, get in touch with me on Facebook, AbandonedNI, Instagram as well, and my website, abandonedni.com.
And also, it's important to say the Strand Mill also then developed into Mackey's. So there's stories that goes right across the whole of Belfast, West Belfast, East Belfast. There's stories completely out there. They're the stories that you want to hear.
100%, yeah. And anything at all involved with the mill, Mackey's, Otto, anyone.
Yeah. And what's the best way to give you those stories?
Just Instagram, Facebook, my website.
And what if like an older generation? Do you have a website or an email or anything?
Email address, yeah. I am abandonedni@gmail.com, and I can give them a phone call, or if they're hard of hearing, I can drop down and have a cup of tea, face-to-face conversation, whatever.
Great. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
and
I can't wait.
I don't think this is going to be the end of spinning yarns. From Rebecca,
we can spin a few yarns.
We can spin a few yarns after a few Boundary Brewery sessions.
Yeah, we Guinness or tea.
I know. But on behalf of myself, your host, Paula Mackin, and my guest and friend, Rebecca Brownlie, I would like to say thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. See you at the talk.